Welcome to the Across the Pond Sports Network's WNBA podcast, Across the Pond Liberty. Liberty had 3 games this week and made history. First 2 games of the week did something they've never done, scored over 100 points in 2 consecutive games. But starting with the dream, first game, first game that we were ready for last week, and you said Sabrina was going to come back firing, and I think she kind of did.
Oh yeah, Sabrina came back firing. We were talking about this last week that Sabrina she'd been in a bit of a shooting slump. She wasn't putting up very good shots. None of them were going in. She comes out and scores a career high 37 points on 8 three-pointers made. 8 three-pointers. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Not only did she come back firing, but she broke her own record. Like, she was on it. She was on it.
Well, I mean, and they just started off just killing it. It was one of those where we've seen them this year start in the first half and be kind of even and then come out in the second half. But they started off in the first half up by 9 after the first quarter, and then literally at the end of the second quarter, I'm doing my quick math here, 39, da, 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 up by 22 points going into the second half, which just killing it. 26 and
Yeah.
35. I mean, you have 61 points at halftime. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was an absolutely crazy game to watch, and one of the things we've mentioned previously is about how New York are not ranked very highly in terms of pace of play across the WNBA. So they were up this week against the Atlanta Dream, who are ranked second fastest in terms of pace of basketball. And I was kind of very impressed with how the Liberty played in that first game. I thought their pace not only matched but exceeded that of the Dream for a consistency throughout the game. And it was just great to see. I felt like there was a lot more team chemistry. They got loads of points off the fast break. That was 17 points for New York off the fast break compared to 9 Atlanta points, which is amazing considering Atlanta are ranked so highly for being good at fast paced basketball. Um, but yeah, not we can't only give credit to Sabrina though. We had also in that game Ryan Howard of the Atlanta Dream, who became the fastest player to score 100 three-pointers, passing Cynthia Cooper, who made the initial record of 41 games, I believe it was, in 1998. Ryan Howard did it in 40. So that was a really great feat for her, and it was also just really cool to watch her play and her ability. Okay, it's not quite 8 threes, but she scored 3 threes, and just her ability to score so consistently and just such a quick shot release as well. It's so amazing to watch. But yeah, Atlanta continuing their very high turnovers that they've been experiencing in the past couple of weeks. They had 17 turnovers in that game, which allowed the Liberty to score 21 points off of turnovers. So while Liberty did play well, a lot of the contribution of their points was Atlanta's fault and their mishandling of the ball. But saying that, we also spoke about this before coming in to the recording that we're being a little bit disappointed with Liberty's ability to rebound in that game, despite Liberty winning 106 to 83. They got 37 rebounds compared to Atlanta's 34. For them to have beaten them by 20 points, you would expect that Liberty had a significantly larger amount of rebounds than Atlanta. And in particular, Atlanta getting more defensive rebounds than Liberty did. So I think that kind of speaks a lot for what we were talking about. We have players like Brianna Stewart with insane wingspan and Jonquil Jones, who's one of these key players in the paint. And not to mention also like Ionescu and Sloot, who are consistently getting like 5 or 6 rebounds per game. It's Well, I commend them for how well they played and how many points they scored. I do feel that it's important for them to utilize the players that they have, the skills that they each individually have to bring that fight. I mean, Atlanta, despite losing the game by 23, they had fight that whole game. I thought that game was so entertaining to watch. And if I'm honest, like I would look at the score and think, "Oh, like no way are Liberty up that high."
I think it's the youth of the dream. When before they played the Fever, I think I mentioned about how the Wings are like a couple years ahead of the Dream, and the Dream are about a year ahead of the Fever when it comes to the youth that they've had on their team. And Ryan Howard is a perfect example because she's a number one draft pick. They traded to make sure they could get her because that's who they knew that they wanted, and she's done well. She was an rookie of the year last year, was an all-star, can shoot lights out. There's sometimes I would watch her in college and be like, "Oh my gosh, like, how good are you?" It was just insane, um, and the fact that she's come in and done as well as she's done, and now that there's a couple more experienced players around her and players that are hungry, the dream and a coach that's hungry, that's another thing too.
Mhm.
S Coach that's hungry. They all describe her as intense. I saw that on one of the league passes in between commercial fillers. They were, how would you describe coach?" "Intense." All of them said intense, and I believe Monique Billings also said about their coach, one of her favorite quotes is, "Nobody cares." Like, they don't care about the excuses. Nobody cares. And so Ryan Howard, no one cares that you're a rookie. Go out and score the points. Nobody cares. Nobody cares
Mhm.
it's your 2nd year in the league. "Hey, you were a leading scorer last year." No one cares. Like, just
Yeah.
go and do your job. And she's been doing that. But it was interesting with her and Sabrina as, 2 number 1 picks, and Sabrina just came out, like you said she was gonna do, just killing it
Yeah.
and scoring all the points. Uh,
Yeah.
Now, the Fever, you know so that was the first game of the week. First game of
Yeah.
the week that we were looking at, and turn around a few days later, Liberty have their pride game, and we've got the Wings in New York, so you have the Sabali sisters playing each other professionally for the first time, and Satu is just killing it this year, and the Wings are very formidable team, and they were up at halftime because, again, with the rebounding, they had 11 offensive rebounds in the first half, and despite having 11 more offensive rebounds, they were only up by 6. So I just kept thinking, "Okay, you're young, you're killing this part of the game. What else you guys got to figure out to just keep winning?" And that's the kind of things that I'm looking forward to seeing in the future with Dallas. But they went up against the experience
Mhm.
of the Liberty, and I know that one of the players, was talking about how, yeah, we needed to clean it up. I believe it was Stewie at the end of the game, clean up, making sure we got defensive rebounds, and the Wings only had 3 offensive rebounds in the second half, and the Liberty come out with the win 102-93 with their 2nd game in a row over 100, which is just phenomenal. Um, but they still only won 1 quarter. The Wings won 3 out of the 4 quarters, it's just the Liberty won 34-17 in that 3rd quarter, and that just
Yeah.
took the Wings out.
Yeah. No, I mean it was a really, really fun game to watch as well. Particularly to see I know this podcast is about Liberty, but Ariki Agumbawali, my goodness, she is a force of power. She played so well, and as did Sabali, Natasha Howard, like all of they had 4 players on double digits. Like it was a really good game. And like you were saying, I was kind of watching the game trying to think like, okay, they have the energy, they have some of these real powerhouse players. What what is it that they're not quite getting with? But you're right about the rebounds. A lot of it was to do with getting those rebounds and getting those second chance points. Like it's not just about getting the rebound, but it's about what's the next step. What do you do after that? Um
Yeah, if
but
you get
really
3 offensive rebounds and you don't put
yeah,
it in, that's just a minute of possession, especially if you're down, that just feels wasted because you couldn't do it on 3
yeah.
chances.
Yeah. But again, like it was a really nice game to watch. I was really excited to see Sabali go up against Sabali, but Unfortunately, Nyara didn't get all that many minutes, which is kind of has been the case for most of the season as she is just kind of coming in off of her big injury. I think double whammy injury. I think she re-injured her
She
ACL, I believe.
re-injured a knee. She's had a couple knee problems, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
uh,
I was looking forward to it. I won't say I was disappointed, but she got 4 rebounds. Not too bad, but yeah, I was kinda hoping she'd maybe get a bit more court time, but such is life, can't complain. But yeah, again, great game to watch, particularly to see them get over 100 points for 2 games in a row. That was crazy.
and you talk about pace. Dallas leads the league in pace, and again, that's just the youthful
Yeah,
legs, and they're
yeah.
going but they've had some injuries. They've just got Kalani Brown back, and so she has a contract because I know she's been waived multiple times for multiple teams. Because Tierra McCowan is gone, so you're replacing 6'7" with 6'7", and then Odyssey Sims, I believe, only played 7 games last year because of injury, so you have these 2 former Baylor players that are coming in just delivering for the wings, and they've been very impressive, but, bringing back to, Enrique, she she had one of my favorite performances, going back to all of my history of traveling to go see basketball. Saw her play in Chicago in the Sweet 16 against Texas A&M, against Kennedy Carter, and it was wonderfully heated. Marina Mabrey, I think, just just made sure that she fouled Carter at the end of the 3rd quarter and looked like they were both gonna get into a fight, and Mabry likes to do that,
Yeah.
but it was 34 and 35 points, and I think that's the only time that I wanna say in the Sweet 16 that I feel like this is wrong, but it may not be, that there's been players from opposing teams have each scored over 30 points, and I remember just being like, "We are so lucky to be watching these 2 players just
Yeah.
have a shootout," and so every time that she gets the ball, I'm like, "She's gonna score. She's gonna score," and her and Satu are top 5 in the league in scoring this year, and they're young. They're
Mhm.
still young. I mean,
Yeah.
Stewie's not even 30 yet, but how young are they? They have a new coach that is pretty fiery. I've heard her do some interviews. She'll say things very matter of factly and then kinda, like, get, like, a little whammy in there. I love Trammell, and they really wanna compete. They've been in the playoffs. They're dangerous, and despite
Mhm.
losing, they're dangerous, and I know they lost today when we're recording this against the Sparks, but shout out to them. It was a game at 1 Eastern time in Dallas, and so, there's gonna be less people in the crowd, but it was a kids' day, and I just kept hearing the kids being like, "Let's go Wings! Let's go Wings! Defense!"
Oh, that's
Like,
so sweet.
you heard all these little kid voices in
Yeah,
Dallas, so shout out to Dallas for their, like, local kids athletics day. That
yeah.
was it was literally the cutest thing. I wish the Wings could have performed better for him, but you know how I feel about loving NECA and the Sparks, and they're
Yes.
dangerous. I'm gonna keep going back to I love NECA. Um, but yeah, that was great on the Wings to hear, and they have all the potential. I just hope that they do something with that potential,
Yeah.
and yep, they're dangerous. So
That's
we will
that's a really, like, great way to put it, but as well with, like, the dream, just so much potential, so much youth, and, like, I mean, they were big numbers that were put up in those Wings games, and it's just crazy to think that, like, having scored 93 points wasn't enough to win the
yeah.
WNBA game. It's like, they're there. They have the ability to score the points, but it's just a difference of maybe stronger defense, maybe get more rebounds and finish on those shots. Like they're stacked.
Yep,
It's all the other things that need to be honed in on in order to get them to that level where they'll easily beat a team,
yep.
maybe not easily beat a team like Liberty, but beat full stop. So yeah.
And then just having the confidence to know that you can, instead of
Mhm.
being young anymore and to be like, "We got this." And then
Yeah.
doing all those small little things at the end, those intelligent decisions that
Mhm.
put you over the edge when it just comes with a little bit of experience and a little bit of fine tuning.
Yeah.
So, first 2 games of the week. 2-0, looking good, scoring over 100 points, but we were wrong again. Even though I said I'm never gonna say they're gonna be undefeated for a week, and I immediately went back on that last episode. I'm gonna do the same thing for next week. I'm gonna say they're gonna be undefeated. They only have 1 game, but, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
But fingers crossed. But so the Dream get their rematch, so and it's in Brooklyn, which has been a little shaky, and the Dream come out and run the 4th quarter just once they got the lead in the 4th quarter, which was, I think, like, 40 seconds in, did not give up the lead, had a 9-point lead at one point in the 4th quarter, and win 86 to 79. So the Liberty, averaged 104 points the last 2 games, didn't put up 80 this game, but they did have Sabrina out with a hamstring injury,
Mhm.
um, which takes away a scorer, but still, they
Yeah.
had all the opportunities to win this game and just couldn't finish it.
Yeah, I mean, not only does it take away a scorer, but it takes away a 37-point scorer, which is so significant. The game, like, this was my favorite game to watch this week because, like, the other games, great fun. I mean, Sabrina going off, we had over 100-point games, but this game was just like a fight. It was just
Mhm.
hustle, and I love to see, as much as I love our Liberty, I just love to see that for Atlanta as well because they they're all just such a young team, but they just have such fight in them. I mean, there was 15 lead changes in that game. That, like, I was watching this game just back and forth. If I took my eyes off the screen for a split second, like check my phone, whatever, I look back up and I'm like, wait,
What
no,
just
the
happened?
leads changed. No, the
Yeah.
leads changed. And I was like sitting, I could not get distracted in that game. I was sitting like razor focused watching this. It was such a fun game to watch, and I must say as well, in particular, I loved watching Marine Johannes play. I thought she played spectacular in that game. I know, unfortunately, yes, we didn't get the win, but even in the games earlier in the week, in particular this game, Marine just came out. She got her first chance at starting for the Liberty because, of course, of Ionescu being out with her injury. And she came out. She was, I believe she was, yeah, top scorer for the team. 18 points. She had 4 assists, 4 threes. And I was just like, I just love watching her. She is so entertaining. I believe they call her the wizard. And you know what? She's a wizard.
She's a wizard.
She is a wizard,
She's a
Johannes.
fast
Like,
wizard too.
she's, oh my goodness. The
Uh,
way, like, not only scoring threes, but just her ability to just catch and shoot. Like, she shoots and the ball spins in such a weird way that I look at it like, "That's not going in," and it goes in, and I'm like, "What?"
it
Just
it's it
oh,
it's an interesting shot, just like her release point's a little different.
mhm,
There I'm gonna bring it back to one of my favorite quotes, and this is not verbatim, but if anybody knows this, Reggie Miller has a very weird shot, the Hall of Famer that played in the NBA, and they said, "Why is your shot different?" And he says, "Well, when your older sister continuously blocks your shot," shout out to Cheryl Miller, one of the greatest ever, consistently blocks your shot, you have to figure out a way to get your shot off. So that's why that man had a different shot. It's the way that Chelsea Gray, finals MVP, Chelsea Gray has said, "Hey, she figures out a way to get her shot off with her fadeaway and how she does it. It's not gonna block no one's gonna block that. Rebecca Lobo
yeah,
said that about
no,
Chelsea Gray last year. Who's guarding her? Rebecca Lobo. Doesn't matter. It didn't matter who was guarding Johannes on those shots. She was gonna
she
score.
was
Yeah.
no, I just loved watching her. She had a bunch of flashy passes. In particular, like, the connection between her and Sloot is one thing, and there's a really great play as well with her and Dolson. I just felt that she brought such a different energy to the court that, like, when she was on, it was fast paced again. There was loads of chemistry, um, loads of I mean, she got 4 assists, which is nice, but she had that really lovely shot where she kind of goes up and she, like, fakes and then finishes. She's so athletic and just so full of energy. Like, she did not stop. She was on that floor and she ran rings around everybody else on that court. Like, I cannot. I love watching the Liberty, but I love watching Marine Johannes. She has
She
It's just such European style basketball, and I love to see it.
she just glides and she's very smooth. And I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about, that play with her and Big Mama Steph. It was keep away
Mhm.
in the corner. and
Yeah,
then Steph slips the screen and then has it, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, love
oh,
it." Um,
love it,
and,
love it.
she was 40% from 3, 4 of 10,
Mhm,
but, number 2 scorer last night was, Betnijah with 17, 3 of 5 from 3. It's just, who we normally expect to step up
mhm,
couldn't hit anything, and the broadcasters had said numerous times that coach of the Atlanta Dream, Tanisha Wright, said, "We're gonna make it tough for Stewie to score." Oh, they did.
oh, they did.
Everybody just kept smashing, not like fouling her, but just she had no space, and this is a woman that doesn't really need that much space, but she
Mhm,
literally had no space. Everybody knew where she was. It was so good on the Dreams part, how they were able just to, like, focus in and, like, it was like a Ziploc bag, just
mhm,
just locked her up and just squeezed every ounce out of it, just, she had no air. She only made 1 shot, but then was 10 for 12 from the free throw line. That's how she got her points. So, I mean,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
unfortunate that she had her worst shooting night,
uh-huh,
maybe not of the season, maybe of her career, of the
maybe ever.
WNBA career,
1
maybe
for
ever.
14.
1
Ugh,
for f that's just insane. But
just yeah.
the biggest thing, despite Stewie shooting poorly, you have, Betnijah who can score when she needs to, and she needed to last night, did her job. Johannes does her job. Salutes right around her average. John Quell is coming back, but missing Sabrina was huge. But the biggest thing was they could not get offensive rebounds in the end of the game. And so, I have my picture with Pat. It's Pat right there. I told my mom this morning. Pat would have been like, "You need to get defensive rebounds because the Dream were getting all these O boards and all those second chance points, and it felt like the Dream were desperate for a win, how much they were just killing it, and the Liberty looked a little tired and had, like, and they had to be 3 games in a week, and then one of
Mhm,
your players, the starters played a lot of minutes and Sabrina's not in there,
mhm,
it's the Dream wanted to win more, and they stepped
mhm.
up.
Oh, for
Haley
sure.
Jones stepped up, had her best game of her WNBA career, the, Stanford rookie,
Mhm,
and they just they just fought, and also I'm gonna shout out for Atlanta, Adie Durr, who
mhm,
had 18 points and had a great first half, and her shot was on, or sorry, their shot was on, and they were drafted by New York, number 2 in a draft, I believe in 2018, and then got long COVID and didn't know if they were gonna be able to play again, gets
mhm.
traded to Atlanta, and it's so nice to see them just killing it.
Yeah.
Um, Coming back from as long COVID is no joke. I have a friend that has it,
Mhm.
uh, so that was really nice. So I love how we want the
Yeah.
Liberty to win, but we're like, the Dream
Yeah, just
fought so
like,
hard.
honestly,
Yeah,
but you have to give credit to them, like, I really, really thought that game was just so great to watch, and
yeah.
even in terms of scoring for Atlanta, they had is that 6 players on double points, like, they shared the rock.
Whew,
Um,
yep.
they had way more second chance points, again, hitting on our rebound, point for the Liberty. They had 16 points compared to 8 for the Liberty. Um, and significantly decreased turnovers as well. I know quite a high turnover game of the first one against us, and I believe their game against the Connecticut Sun that they had their highest turnover game of the season. They got hammered, and Connecticut scored 41 points off of their turnovers. But this game, still 12, still quite a lot, but that's a significant decrease. And you just felt that they just flowed better. They had that fight in them. They'd come off quite a pretty rough game, and yeah, they came out. I was so impressed, and I'm very. I hope that they can hold on to as many of the squad as they can, because I just see that they have so much potential for the future to become such a strong team. I mean, they're already beating the Liberty. They
Yep.
have the drive for it. They have the scoring ability. I mean, they out rebounded us as well. Um, so yeah, I would just really hope that they keep as many players as they can, continue working towards that, and I can't wait to see where the Dream are at in a couple of years' time.
Oh, it's gonna be great, and I can't wait for that Dream documentary about the Wubble that I'm gonna keep throwing out there
Yeah,
every podcast
we should
because
just make it.
We should just make it. I find some interviews and just all the Wubble footage with Chennai from the 144 documentary and just focus on the dream. Be like, "Okay, Chennai, please tell me that you also did this with everything going on because the Dream are ousting their owner and getting a new one of a former player. Like, come on." Yeah. So I'm just gonna call Chennai because you know how much I love NECA, so I'm gonna put Chennai on the phone and be like, "Yeah, we're gonna make this. We're gonna make this."
We're gonna make this work.
Yeah, and I know the WNBA is doing a documentary of, like, day in the lives because NECA and Stewie were featured on it. I saw, like, a little glimpse of that, more on that next episode.
Mhm.
They're doing more documentaries, which is great because more exposure.
Yeah.
Last thing I am gonna say about the Dream game, they had 5 more offensive rebounds than the Liberty and made 5 more shots. And so that would be a 10 point because they were even on threes. So that's
Mhm.
10 points. The Liberty outscored them by 3 from the free throw line. That's the difference. 5
That's
offensive
the difference.
rebounds. You
Yeah.
know, you take away a couple, hey, you're right there. So, kudos to the Dream for being fighters. And so I hope that they continue to do well and get they've got, they've got players that grew up in Atlanta and grew up in Georgia. So
Mhm.
I just I want the best for them. I want the best for most teams. I want the best for the
Yeah.
W. Um,
Can't be mad. I can't be
can't
mad
be
at that
mad.
loss, like,
Can't be
they
mad.
deserved it.
Yep. Well, next week, there's only, 1 game that will be in our nice little window of in between podcast, and it is the Mercury, and they get a CBS 11 a.m. game on the 18th, and so the Mercury are coming to Brooklyn, and I hope that they get there safely because of recent events that have happened with Brittany Griner in Dallas, so I hope they get there safely, um, and this is just continuing talk about the league getting charter flights. More
Mhm.
money, more exposure, and it's all about health and safety.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that's one of the big things that has been an issue in the league for the past few years. So yeah, hopefully they get start looking into getting stuff like that sorted. Um and yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this matchup because I've been watching quite a lot of the Mercury games and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this goes down.
And
Dare I ask the question
do it, just
of
say it.
what your prediction will be?
The Liberty are gonna win. I know
Yep.
they've had some struggles at home, but the Liberty are gonna win.
Yep.
I'm happy that BG I hope she gets a great reception in New York. Um,
Mhm.
I still think that I thought this last year, but I wasn't as much last year as this year. I think this may be Tarazi's last year because, she's got 2 kids, she's getting older, she's gonna be I think she's gonna be 41 here in the next week. So yeah, but and she's told people she's not gonna say if when she's quitting, she's just gonna be done.
Yeah.
So she's not gonna have like the send off like Sue did
Mhm.
or like Sylvia Fowles did. Um, but it's gonna be nice to see Stewie with BG. They've
Yeah.
won a couple Olympic medals together, and then it's as much as I love my Pat Summit and my blood is orange. I just love it when UConn players play against each other. It makes
Yeah.
me happy, because they have been the epitome of the league, and they still have,
Mhm.
I believe, the most players in the league from their school. South Carolina, Baylor, Notre Dame are in there, and so is Tennessee. But yeah, so Stewie needs to get back to shooting. She'll have time to do it. But I am predicting the Liberty will go 1-0 and defend their home court, and they will be hammered this week on getting defensive rebounds to prevent teams from getting offensive rebounds. My prediction. What's your
Yeah.
prediction?
Same. I think Liberty will win. I think it'll be fairly comfortable if I'm honest with you. Um I think Stewie's gonna come back. Like, not to say she had a bad game, right? She had 13 rebounds against Atlanta, but it just wasn't her best shooting game. I love how, like, despite this, her not having a great shooting game, she still had a double double.
Oh, yeah.
Like like,
Free throw
it's
line.
not and Eastern Conference Player of the Week again for the second
Again.
time, so
Oh,
give her creds, but
she's
yeah, I think
human?
she'll
What? She's human.
I know she
She's human.
she's human. So, yeah, I think she'll come back. I think John Quayle had a pretty good game against Atlanta in comparison, so, yeah, I think we're looking good, we're looking good, excited to see this matchup, and yeah, yeah.
Excited to see it. You know, welcome to New York. Welcome back to New York,
Mhm.
BG. So the Liberty went 2-1 this week. Picked up one win against the Dream, one win against the Wings. Lost the last one to a very fiery Dream team. It's weird to say Dream team, but Dream team.
Dream
And
team.
they've got the Mercury coming to town on Sunday, and we will be back next week with a recap of the Mercury game and a preview to the week ahead because it's gonna be a doozy the week ahead. Whew,
Mhm.
so we'll give you all those details next week, but until then, thank you for joining us at, Across the Pond Liberty. I'm Stacia.
And I'm Kirsten.
Alright,
See you
see
guys
everybody
next week.
next week.